Human beings since the dawn of time have been charmed by countless things. Someone's seen an adorable little baby and go, oh, isn't that charming? There's charms that we wear, but there are things that are charming, and the distinction, metaphysically, is absolutely zero. The one thing that people wanted to follow up on, because you can make countless videos on talismans and, the actual literal magic behind them, and it's not magic in the sense of, Harry Potter nonsense, but of actual true metaphysics. Global conflagrations and, conflicts like Helen of Troy. Her beauty was so charming. And to, the ancients, and it's really, since it acts as same, instantaneous action at a distance, you see something that's charming and beautiful, led to the siege and the conflict between Troy, and of course there have been countless movies made about that, and I told people that I could make several more videos. I'd like this really to be the final one, but an important one, because if it didn't have a lot of interesting points in it, I wouldn't have made this little video on talismans and things that are charming. Because charms, either worn or charms as far as what the eye takes in, but also too what the eye projects. And to the ancients, especially the Egyptians, but also to the Greeks, they saw this as a true type of magic, and it is, because the black of the eye, which of course takes in light, by means of the spirit of that which is taken in, will actually project and desire and all the things that are, fascinating and partially beautiful, but mostly destructive, occurs from that. And this is the actual metaphysics of talismans. And the talismans that fundamentally, for basically 95% of which, are things that actually bind and destroy the human spirit. So, the magic, and the Old Testament, the New Testament, doesn't matter which religious or metaphysical text, ancient Egyptian, Indian, Greek, they all say the same thing. One of the great magics of humanity is not only the light that the black of the eye actually takes in, but the actual transformation and attachments and desires and things that are, abysmal that occur from the magic of that which is beautiful and charming, and the things that we wear and the talismans thereof. This is all, of course, subservience to objective masters, whether they be one or many. I don't want to mention a person's name, but as a person I used to know, he was destroyed by his attachment to a talisman, and that was a company. And he worshipped the icon that that company had. I don't want to mention which it is, and it's absolutely destroyed him. It nearly took his life away, but I mean, he's completely destroyed. Now, this happens every day across the globe, and these are banners and symbols and things that we attach and cleave ourselves to and identify with, whether they be beautiful or whether they're meant to be protective and to keep things away. And of course, you see those blue glass, it's actually 4 colors. It's called the evil eye charm. Most of them are made out of glass. They're mass-produced in Greece. By the way, there's records of those from Pliny the Elder and ancient Greece. Have been around for endless thousands of years. There's mentions of the evil eye. In the Old Testament and the New Testament. I'd like to make a couple mentions of those here in this video. But these are subservience to things that we should not attach ourselves to. And it's kind of amazing how we actually have the same thing, except in technological form of various types I'd like to get into. A talisman is, of course, an idol. It leads to these subjective and, of course, subjective masters of subservience that we actually cleave and bend our soul to. They become idols and auspicious, in fact, that we're in awe of it, that they command attention from many, if not many people. They are then auspicious. We say that something's auspicious, and people ever stop to think about the etymology and the metaphysics of that word, that we are in awe of it and the magic that it commands over other people. There have been countless thousands of times throughout history when someone would hold up an icon. You could think of a dozen off the top of your head, and the person might be a total stranger to somebody else. By simply holding up that talisman, even though the other people may not know who that person is, the communication that is absolutely instantaneous and no mental cogitation occurs in the minds of one or more people out there. They instantly fall sway unto, and that really is magic. Say a great power has a specific symbol behind it, and someone shows up, kind of like the Holy Roman Catholic Church. They would show up and they would wield an icon. You know which one it is, and these people didn't know who those people were, but just by sake of that talisman and how the person dressed, they would get on their knees and they would actually give all or part of their money, throw it in the bucket just based upon the flashing of that icon. And this is the case where talismans become true idolatry. People think, well, the golden calf and whatnot, it's like, well, that's an idol. But I mean, why is it an idol? It first started out as a talisman, but then you have a significant group or extremely large group that bends their spirit and their will to that talisman, and now the talisman is something completely different. It's an idol. Here's a couple examples of things that are actually possessed, and people bend their will to it, and they are idols. People pay good money to visit haunted items. Like one of them is in Key West. It's in a museum. It's called Robert the Doll. You could go look up what Robert the Doll is if you don't know what Robert is. It's a raggedy, old, ugly doll. But people will show up and they'll actually cross themselves if they're Catholic, and they're very quiet, like they're visiting some sort of a holy religious icon because of the whole history behind it. There have been countless movies made about Annabelle. Of course, the true Annabelle is a Raggedy Ann doll. I mean, superficially it looks really funny, but there have been demonstrable tests taken that there is psychophysical activity that's actually surrounding this with various forms of instrumentation. And it's kept in a locked trunk, and people are in awe of it. It's become an idol, just like that silly little doll. These things should be, this is my personal position, from the standpoint of what is good and pure, for humanity. Things like that should, be, open up the old wood burner and chuck it in and throw another log on top of it. It's not good to make idols out of these things. That's just one example of an idol. I'd like to get to some other ones that people don't consider, but if you do consider it, you'll see that I'm 100% right. Things, modern technological advancements and whatnot, that we have turned into talismans and even worse, idols. Companies, of course, can and are idols. People, things, ideas, and beliefs. There's a long list, and I can't go over all of them, of things that are talismans that people let themselves get bound to and destroyed by. Paper money, the endless quest of self-betterment and accruing wisdom rather than chasing money. It's become a very, very awful idol that people fall sway under. There's an extremely enormous and awful danger in worshiping things that we say, well, what's wrong with it? It's very beautiful. People make icons and talismans and worship things that are beautiful. The Greeks, for example, talked about, Aristotle talked about this, and a few others actually, Syrianus did, and Gemistus Platon, about a wax impression of a royal signet. We have this amazing standard that's made out of wood or made out of, the Chinese are, great. Back in the days of the emperors, there was like a jade stamp that had the emperor's seal on it, and you could write anything on there. Like, we want all your money, do this, horrific things, good, Just as long as it had that little symbol on the bottom of it, people would do anything. I mean, they actually subdivided up their soul and their responsibility to themselves and their family, towards a symbol stamped on the bottom of a sheet of paper. It's this great impression. It's like, well, what is it? Well, it was just a carved piece of jade in the form of the sovereign emperor, whichever one it was. And, some anonymous, unknown random person would show up, as long as it had that little talismans on the bottom, an idol to be worshipped, and, whatever you want. Do you want my family? Do you want my firstborn? You want all my money, what little I have? Yeah, sure, okay. All of humanity since the dawn of time has been doing stuff like this. There's one example of countless ones. Yeah, but the Greeks would talk about wax impressions of a royal signet, that being a representation of the divine. People fall sway to, and it is natural, one of the most natural things of all of humanity, to actually worship the divine and that which is beautiful. But that which is divine and beautiful is never objective. These are impressions, just like a wax impression of something that is transcendent to the wax impression. People are admiring the beauty, say the signet, whether it be metal or stone or whatnot, is completely invisible, that which you can't see. The divine absolute, which has the logos of beauty and harmony, call it golden ratio, call it whatever you want, that's a matter for another discussion. But people are only fascinated by the objective impression thereof. But I mean, that's composite, and we are never to make talismans of the beautiful as objectively impressed, like just a molten piece of wax that is impressed with the logos of the divine and that which is beautiful. These are objective talismans which always lead to destruction and bondage, unfortunately. This ratio of divinity, which is of course just merely an impression, is a temporal construct. It is not the thing itself which is to be lauded and or worshipped. Objectivity worshipped, that's what a talisman generally is in 99.9% of circumstances, that people idolize, they wear on their fingers, around their necks, so on and so forth. These are not to be made talismans of. The talisman in the Greek is philatko. It actually means, well, it means charms. You actually look up a translation of philatko from the Greek. So, well, it means a charm or a talisman. What it means is to be guarded or to be watched. People wear religious icons, crosses, endless sort of religious symbols around their neck. And nobody is in denial. So why are you wearing that thing around your neck? It's a little piece of gold or silver. Yeah, but when I wear it, I feel like I'm... And humans have been thinking this since the dawn of time. Well, when I wear it, I feel like, my divinity above me is guarding me or watching me, because I know I am tied and bound, once again bondage, to the divine. Well, it's just a talisman. It's a little icon hanging. Yeah, I know, but it represents that which I truly am. I have cleaved myself and bound myself to this thing. And that's what philatko actually means. People say, well, it means talisman or charm, but it means a portal. It's literally a metaphysical portal, and it is used as such that you desire to be guarded and or watched over. It's like, I don't care if I'm in bondage as long as, you watch over me. And that's fundamentally how people feel about it. Watch over me. Well, you're guarded and being watched, but not by the things that you think, which are divine and pure. Rather, just the opposite. The divine and pure is something that you're supposed to cleave your spirit to, and not that something is looking out after your meat suit, which is, never going to make it out of this world alive. Nobody's is. Your phone, whether it be iPhone or Android, of course, is a digital talisman. It watches over you. Man, it watches over you big time. It tracks you. It protects you because you can make payments through it. It guards you in a certain spectrum of a sense, but not in the good way. Of course, it's a black mirror device. If ancients came to the modern world and they saw everybody, that's exactly what they look like. I'm saying that as I'm looking at a black mirror device right now. I got another black mirror device over here. It's a bunch of conjurings, flickering LED pixels on a screen. I mean, that's a black mirror device, and here's another one. So I know the irony and the hypocrisy of saying that while I'm looking at one. Yeah, but if ancients actually came, or aliens came, and they looked at humanity, it's not funny, actually. What it is a scrying portal. That black mirror device you have in your pocket, it's watching over you. Man, there is nothing the NSA and the other three-letter agencies of this world love more than your iPhone or your Android device. Man, they love it. They watch everything you do. They know what you like and don't like, have, don't have, what you say, what you don't. It is doing way more than watching over you. A lot of parents actually give phones to their little ones. It's like, well, I can track them wherever they are. You know those little tracking devices that look like coins that Apple sells, for example? That way you can you put them wherever. So if you like your car gets hijacked, if somebody takes off with your car, you can track where it is. You know, that's just a digital talisman too. I don't know if you're familiar with the word phylactery. It's a box containing scripture and summoning. There's actually, in the New Testament, there's two different affronts to this, taking literally this. You've actually seen it. They'll actually take, it's a reference to a talisman. They'll actually take a box, it's usually a leather box, which contains scripture. The scripture is both summoning and bondage to deity. They'll actually take it, and as part of like a leather strap, you'll actually see it in religious rituals. You've probably seen it. They'll do this number with it. Yeah. There's actually more than one religion that actually does this, but only one currently that we're quite familiar with. They'll actually take it and they'll wrap it really, 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 really tight around their arm. You know, a signification of bondage too. You know, they'll actually, man, they wrap it so tight you can see it's cutting off the circulation to their arm. Phylactery. Binding leather straps, binding oneself to icons and ideas. It's literally a praise of bondage. You know those little things in your wallet called credit cards? Those are neat little talismans themselves. If ancients were to come forward to our time and say, what are these little plastic, of course they wouldn't know what plastic is, what are these little cards that human beings, I see somebody that desires or lusts after some sort of object, and they want it really bad, and all they have to do is they whip out this magic conjuring device, and they wave it in front of this magic portal, shada, and they were able to get the things that their heart desires, not what they need usually, just what they desire and want. It's like, yeah, that's exactly how it works, but what it does is it exchanges the things that you want for bondage, and it's a talisman. I don't have credit cards anymore at all. Thank goodness. It's too tempting. People are entranced by, and it is a genuine magic of metaphysics. All of these talismans, whether they be the black mirror scrying devices of your phone or those little credit cards that people have a lot of in their wallet, it's almost, you almost have to have one in Western society now. Almost absolutely have to have one. You can't rent a car without a credit card. Yeah, I want something. Shazam! Mirror, mirror on the wall. Another black mirror scrying device. You know, I would like to conjure ABCXYZ that my heart desires. I want that gadget. I will grant you that gadget if your credit card could talk to you. I will grant you that gadget, just wave it before the machine and take the item that you want. But in exchange, I will take bondage out of you. You will not only pay back what that item is worth, but you will pay back my divine cut, known as interest. So your credit card is a talisman. In the New Testament passage of Matthew 23:5, the Lord rebukes the Pharisees who make very pronounced unscriptural formalism and crude literalism of the phylacteries, making them obtrusively large as they seek notoriety for the religiosity by the enlarged fringes or borders, the leather ties and the bondage where you're actually begging for protection. Like, I am tying myself to you. I will be your minion and servant until the end of time itself. Just watch over me. There's actually 2 or 3 mentions in the New Testament of the phylacteries. And the phylacteries is, once again, the talisman. It's asking a deity on the other side to watch over you in exchange for your absolute bondage to it. Hey, credit card, watch over me and get me lots of cool things that I want. So, well, I will do that for you. Shazam! All you have to do is repay me in bondage and pay me back not only what it is, but my cut, known as interest, because credit cards aren't there for your use and entertainment. They will take a cut on top of what that item, of course, costs, as you very well know. Amulets, talismans, scriptures, objects, of course, for focus of the mind, to summon things for protection or to communicate with beings on the other side. Your Black Mirror device, whether it be iPad or iPhone, is a scrying device, and it is a talisman that everybody is completely glued to. Remember when they used to take, back in the day, the witches that would engage in scrying? I don't know if you know what scrying is. Remember the crooked old witches that actually peered deep into a crystal ball, looking for answers? And it actually works if you do it right, but it's very dangerous, so you should never do that. That's what your Black Mirror device is. It's a communication portal. It tracks you. It watches over you. But in exchange for, letting you communicate and buy things through it and whatnot, it'll track you. It charges a monthly fee, which would be akin to a Black Mirror clergy. Whether that Black Mirror clergy is Verizon or AT&T or T-Mobile, don't make any difference. We will give you the scrying device. You will not only you will pay for it, which will make a handsome profit, but we will also, you have the monthly fee on top of that. It will also track you and watch you and record everything you do and say. It'll also record everywhere you go. Yeah, so you can enjoy it, but we will take a much, much heavier toll upon you by you using it. And don't forget, you got to pay the monthly fee on that, or we'll cut your scrying device off from you. The evil eye. Everybody's seen the evil eye amulets. What this means is actually, don't let me and or others covet and set their gaze upon me. Every ancient culture since the dawn of time has had passages about the evil eye. In the Gospel of Mark 7:22 is the mentioning of the ophthalmos poneros, which means the evil eye in Greek. This is about spiritual projection, i.e. the desire and the envy and the greed. I set upon my eyes something at great distance, and now I greatly want it. If I didn't see it, I wouldn't want it. Now I desire it. That's true magic. It's instantaneous action at a distance. Your eye takes in that light. The black of your eye takes in that light. Your soul processes it. It cleaves towards it. It makes an amulet out of things seen. Let the eye take in the light, but let it not objectify that which is seen. This evil eye, or as meant an evil eye talisman, interestingly enough, is extremely literally an anti-talisman talisman. That's what its whole purpose is. Just think about that for a second. It's a talisman meant to be an anti-talisman, protectorate against same. People coveting, setting their eyes upon you with envy or greed or hate, on and on and on. They're also, too, meant to protect you from doing the same to others. As that old saying, I think it's even in The Silence of the Lambs, it says, what do we covet? We covet, it's also a passage from the Bible. What do we covet? We covet that thing we see every day. The evil eye or anti-evil eye talisman is meant to cut off the coveting, the desire, the envy, not only from others upon thyself, but also to thyself upon all other objective things. Because the only thing that you need is food and water to keep you alive, and a few specks of clothing. Everything else you don't need. And it's always been that way, and even with today's bills and everything else, I mean, we still don't need anything else. The actual metaphysics and true magic, and that is actually what real magic is, not this Harry Potter garbage and all the rest of the stuff you see in movies, is extremely real. The ancients thought it that way, and that's the really way it should be seen. Your credit cards are talismans. Your Black Mirror devices, iPad, iPhone, so on and so forth, they are talismans. And you notice this, like newer generations, they flip out if they lose their Black Mirror device. It is so ingrained into their soul that they must be near it. You know, if they lose it, they lose their mind. There's like a million different cases of people literally flipping out and going full-on, you know, schizo break, you know, by like, oh, where'd my phone go? Oh, I broke my phone, or I lost my phone, or somebody took my phone. You know, I grew up, we didn't have those things, and we didn't give a darn. Now people, it's like it's cleaved their soul in half because it has taken from them that which they don't know has been taken. And but these are the dangers and the destructions behind talismans. And it is real. It's palpable. It's not objectively palpable, but you have to be really, really careful about these things. If you were to superficially tell someone, you got to be really careful about talismans and scrying objects, and you're like, oh, what sort of religious nonsense are you talking about? The effects are real. I can step out the front of my yard, and I can do it right here, too, with these Black Mirror devices. I can point it out everywhere. It's everywhere. The idea that anybody would laugh about it is something fantastical, you know, some sort of religious fantastical nonsense. What are you talking about? Be aware, be afraid of talismans. Yeah, this is crazy talk. You say some sort of little glass or gold or silver charm around somebody's neck, you know, like, yeah. It's how they're used and the power that is projected upon them and inversely brought in from them, that people cleave to these things, and it's not good. Tell me what you think. I read every comment. Have a lovely day. Goodbye.